Welcome to Teaching History with Professor Bob, the elementary edition. I forgot to say the elementary edition on the video, which is why I'm doing it here. Welcome to Teaching History with Professor Bob. I'm Professor Bob, and I know you're thinking, wait a minute, this isn't Mesopotamia. This isn't Mesopotamia. Well, that's right. This is a little subsection in between. Finishing up Egypt, I thought would be a good opportunity to show you this little item. Not the helmet. The helmet over here is one of my gladiator replicas that I use in class, and I've just finished the year teaching Emma Western Civ, and I got as far as the Roman Games and the Colosseum and her chariot racing. So I thought you'd like to see that. It's something that when I start doing the series Teaching History just regular, that you'll see more often, or you might see it in one of my Today's Artifact shows. But what I want to talk about is this. And I obviously will show you close-ups of this later on, and I will take you through this as well. This is something that Sheri and I created when Emma was born, and we started going on vacations. Now, Sheri and I proposed to her on a cruise with my older daughter and her husband when we were in Athens, and we were supposed to go to the pyramids and other places. And then we got married the very next year, and every year since then we have traveled someplace. When Emma was about one and a half, she stayed with us while her family and my other daughter and her husband went to Canada for a week. We refer to it as Emma-ageddon, and we did all sorts of different things. But I've always been one of those people who, I don't care how small a child is, you can do something that hopefully will inspire them later. So we put puzzles together, we did all sorts of other stuff. One of the things that we did is we found that there was a way of putting her to sleep. Anya would put her to sleep, and when their parents came back, you know, how did you get her to sleep? I said, I have a mixtape for you. Anytime you want her to go to bed, put this on. And it worked for years. But one of the things that we started doing is, when she had seen us so many times, that when we went on vacation, she missed us. So what we decided to do was create a vacation book. Now, when my daughters were small and we started traveling all over, my wife and I gave them little jobs to do. They took pictures, took their own pictures. They made a little journal. They did some art, all kinds of that sort of thing. So what we did in this case is I created a book with pictures and a story of our entire travel. So on any given day, Courtney, and later on when Laura had Connor, they could have a reading day, a story day, and show Connor or Emma what we were doing that particular day with pictures and the little stories about them and other things. Some of the places that we traveled to, Laura had been with us, so there were pictures of Laura for Connor to see. But they have basically stayed the same. The only thing that has changed is the story is much more, it's not quite as childlike as it is here. But there would be where we stayed in hotels, where we were going to visit, and little comments. And they're about 45 pages long. And again, I'll show you a version of this as when I finish doing the little introduction here. And it's shown to be very popular. The only downside of this is the first one took me almost a month to put together. And I killed a couple of ribbons printing it up. Now that I have a basic story, they just changed the names, changed the story a little bit, changed the pictures. Initially we started out, they had puffy stickers, they had all kinds of stickers, but we've been to some of those places before, so I can't do those again. We've used rubber stamps, we did all sorts of things to make these the way they are. Now, the hard copies, each one of the children have. I have a digital copy, so I had to borrow this one from Laura. This is Connor's, and they have all sorts of little things in them. For example, when the kids were little, they liked to play with the Fisher-Price figures, the little toy figures that I had left over from when their parents were little, and just went out on the market and bought a variety of different things. So each child had a little people, as they call them, a little people Bob, that's what the grandchildren call me, and a little people Nani, with a picture of our face glued onto the face of the little character. And if we flew somewhere, they had a Fisher-Price plane. If we went on a boat somewhere, they had a Fisher-Price boat. And if we were on the train, I actually found 2 Fisher-Price trains. And so there would be pictures of us on the train or getting off the plane or doing something like that. And so they could then see the conveyance, and it would be fun for them. And needless to say, it was very fun for Sheri and I as well. So we have done this every time we've traveled. Was strange in 2020 when we couldn't travel, because we were going to go to England that year. And then, of course, when we come back from our vacation, we always bring them some sort of clothing from where we went. And I'll show you some of those with the other material. And so they look forward to getting gifts from where we were from, and talking to us about it. We asked what they liked, and so forth and so on. And I chose this particular moment to talk about it because the last trip that we did before the pandemic was we went to Greece after Christmas, and we were in Greece, went up to see some of the Alexander stuff, Pella, the burial ground of Philip. We were in Athens for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and then we went to Egypt and spent 2 weeks in Egypt traveling around. So this is an opportunity to see this. But it's what we call the vacation or travel book. And it's something that once you do the first one, it makes it easier for the others. And it gives them a chance to have a little story, a little connection to what we're going on. And one of the things I've noticed is a lot of this material that Emma has from our trips, I simply told Courtney, I said, Courtney, we're going to be in this particular area. You might want to get the little travel book out and review it with her. And so she would talk about pictures that we had seen here, and then what I showed other pictures. So this is a little bit about the travel book. So let me give you a little presentation showing parts of the book. I'm not going to take you through the whole book. I'm going to show you some of the pages from the beginning to the end, but just some of the specific ones. But literally, I had planned out where we were going to be on any given day. Sometimes I knew what we were going to see on that day, and sometimes I didn't. And if I didn't know where we were going, I would give options on it. Not that the kids really made any difference to them, but they certainly have enjoyed that. And Laura and Courtney and their husbands have enjoyed seeing where we should be on any given day on our trip. So let me go to my desk and we'll pick up there. Well, I'm back at my desk, and at least this time I remembered not to change clothing in between walking from one part of the room to the other. So here is the front page of the one that I'm going to show you. And again, I'm going to do this like a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm just doing a little introduction here, and then we'll go through what I want to show you and talk about it that way, because you can see really nice pictures. Sometimes it's just a picture of Sheri and I on the front. In this case, we had been to the Nelson Art Gallery for Halloween, and I was a Roman centurion and she was Cleopatra. So we always try to put that type of stuff on here. So this is as it says, Nani, Sheri, and Grandpa Bob's Excellent Adventure to Greece and Egypt, 2019. Written by Grandpa Bob and edited and written by Nani Sheri. So let's get started. In 2015, Sheri and I went to Istanbul and Greece. And so when we're in Istanbul, here is a picture of us with the Sultan's outfit at one of the locations. And then we brought back Emma a nice little harem girl's outfit, which of course was way too big for her age at the time. But later on, she was able to get into it and wear it. So there's a picture of that. But there is no vacation book for this one. In 2016, we created the first vacation book. And in doing so, we needed needed some props. So here's a picture of the Fisher-Price airport with airplane with Grandpa, Bob, and Nani with their people with the faces on them. There's a closer shot of the airplane. And then since we were going to France, we were going to be flying over and then we were going to use the train. So here is the Fisher-Price train that we were using. And then here is the front page of the booklet, The Excellent Adventures to France 2016. And this is Connor's book. So we made one for Emma and one for Connor. And as you can see, Connor is just a little tiny person. But we bought him a nice outfit anyway. Just as we had done in Istanbul, we bought him a little larger. But ultimately, here is what happened. The outfit that we bought Emma and the outfit that we bought Connor, they eventually grew into them, and we got this beautiful picture of them with their French outfits. Here's the first 2 pages of the 2017 vacation book where we're going to Greece and Turkey. And here is a map of the area with the Nani, Bob people. And since we're going to be taking a ferry this time, there is the Fisher-Price ferry boat. I had quite a bit of trouble finding a second one of those, but we eventually did. And Connor at this point has reached the situation where he doesn't like putting on the clothes to show other people. So I don't have a picture of the clothing that we bought Connor, but here is the outfit that Emma had, which is actually one of the dance costumes they use. It's supposed to be the first queen of modern Greece, and we're in Denver at a Greek festival. In 2018, we went to France, and then we also spent a week in England going through the Channel and staying places. And this is the front page and the second page, actually, of Emma's book at this point. And she received a Tudor princess outfit, and Connor received this really cool guardsman with the fur hat. Now here is the book that I showed you in the video, the 2019, actually it's the 2018-19, the end of the year, our trip to Greece and then to Egypt. And so here is the first 2 pages. There's little Connor and his little story. And then as you see, as we get on the plane, there's the Fisher-Price, there we are in Kansas City. Then we move on to where we're staying in our hotel and a map showing where we are. Now these pictures, since I've never been there in many of these places, I go online and I find pictures of spots, the hotel that we're staying at, for example, interiors of the hotel, pictures of the surrounding area, and whatever we're going to be seeing. So these are from all sorts of websites on travel. And then we landed in Greece, went to Thessaloniki. So here we are up in Thessaloniki and the inside of the hotel. And then there's the map when we're going to be going to Pella region, the museum. And then there's Pella. And then we also went to the tomb of Philip. So there's Philip's tomb and a little container with his ashes. So this is pretty much the way everything would roll. There's a little story that goes with each of the pages, very short, pictures of what we're going to be seeing on that particular day. So we returned back from Thessaloniki to Athens for New Year's Eve. So here is the fireworks over the Acropolis, and the next morning Sheri and I went to church, and then we ran around a little bit in Athens, and then the next day we get on the plane and we head off to Egypt. And of course you see the stickers on the pages of Egyptian gods and whatever that we have. But for Egypt, we did something different. We weren't using the little Fisher-Price people. We were using the Playmobil people. So here's a picture of Nani, Bob, and little Emma. The kids got a Playmobil Egyptian toy for Christmas. I had some here, and so I put her faces on these Egyptian characters. So that's the one that went to Emma. And then here's the one that went to Connor. So everybody has a little face and a little figure so that while we're doing the Egyptian thing, they can have an Egyptian figure. So the day that we went to the pyramids, they had a pyramid picture with all of us in our Egyptian outfits. There's the hotel that we were staying in. Here is the vehicle and our guides took us on. And then here's a big picture of the little one that I had. Each one of the kids got a puzzle that was some part of Egypt that I had here so that they could put it together and play with it and then use their figures if they wanted to. And then in this particular page, one of my former students had been to Egypt years ago. She's actually a singer now, professionally, and that's Julia riding the camel. And I put her in there because I knew we were going to ride a camel, but I can't very well take a picture of something in the future. And then we also had a sound and light show, which was the only downside to our hotel room. The place that we stayed was right across the street from the entrance to the Sphinx. So every night we heard 4 different versions of the sound and light show. But the people were just wonderful. It's on hotels.com. It's considered one of the most beloved places to stay stay in Egypt by the company. Of course, we saw the step pyramids and other things in the museums, and this is a set of pictures of the tour we took of Cairo, the old city, and the King Tut material. Then here's a picture of Connor riding a dinosaur, and as part of it, to get a good picture of him in there. And then we also went to Alexandria. And then after Alexandria, we'll be heading down to Luxor to actually see the tomb of King Tut. And my daughters usually read the book to the kids at night, and then the next morning, as they talked about what was going on the day, they would open it up and then look at all the different places that we were going. So they used it both in the evening as a kind of a reading book to go to bed, and in the morning as kind of a guide to see what was going on. And then here we are down in Luxor. We got to get on the plane again to fly to the southern part of Egypt. And that was interesting because the Coptic calendar, we were actually flying out of Cairo to Luxor on Christmas Eve. And so you'll find Santa Clauses and things. You won't find little creches, but you'll find Santa Clauses all over Egypt at the time, even in the main airports. And then here's the hotel that we stayed in when we were in Luxor, and the view of the Nile from the hotel. Well, before we left for Egypt, the kids were fascinated about us going to see King Tut and his tomb. So obviously we have to have a nice selection here of pictures of visiting King Tut's tomb and the Valley of the Kings. And of course we also then saw Hatshepsut's temple, which is one of the puzzles that the kids had. And then also we took a balloon trip over the area the next day. And so that was really fascinating. So these 3 pages that you've been seeing are areas that they were really interested in and learned all sorts of different things about them before we even left for Egypt. Here's a section where we have pictures of the Temple of Karnak and the Temple of Luxor, and one of the reasons for that is this. They had a puzzle, and there's a picture with Emma and us in front of the temple as the puzzle. And Connor, there's a version of this as well for Connor. And then we also did a boat trip on the Nile with a little felucca, and so there's a picture of that in that particular page. Here we are flying back to Kansas City and being greeted by Laura, Matt, and Connor at the airport. And then here is what we got for the vacation. There's Sheri and I in our Galibeas, our fancy ones. There's the one for Emma. And Connor had one too, but he was shy and didn't want us to take a picture. His mother has pictures of him, but they're on vacation at this point, so I couldn't get them from her. So Connor has plenty of good clothes as well. I hope that this idea of a vacation book has helped you or given you some ideas of what you can do. They can do this with grandchildren. You could get your children together to help plan a trip and mix pictures in and what they might like to see. There's all different things that you can do, and it makes for a nice little commemorative for the trip as well.